Hello, everyone. Welcome to Module 2. This week, for your coding assignment, you probably accomplished a lot of it last week. So uh, this should be, pretty much a rehash of uh, what you did last week. If depending on how far you got with it, I believe the requirement for last week was simply to get everything set up and to get your code started and learn how to compile the code and load your board and see the lights blink and that sort of thing. So today we were actually this week, or rather, we're actually going to submit um, that that work actually. Making the lights alternate, the duty cycles alternate between 90% and 10% for the two LEDs, and then um, sleep, and then set the duty cycles to 0% for one of them and 10% for the other one. Sleep again, go through the loop, 90%, 10%, sleep, 0%, 10%. So you should have become a little bit familiar with that code last week. So let's take a look. And if you saw my video last week, this code, nothing has changed. We're just going to make sure it works, submit it, zip up your code, submit the code, take the video of the lights blinking at the new intervals, and of course that's you can't really tell from looking if it's exactly 90 and 10%. Zero is easy to spot. But I can tell by looking at your code. So I've opened up Code Composer. Now in your instructions for this week, there's a lot of repeat of how to open up Code Composer Studio, that sort of thing. But this is what you want to get to: your own code, your own the code that you saved in PWM led2.c. And remember, this is the only file you should be modifying. So we've got it set up here. First, and this is just my initial draft of doing this. If you you may have quite a bit of experience with this kind of coding, and you're certainly welcome to do something a little more sophisticated than what I've done. So I've just set up some constants here. A duty 1 underscore 90 is 90 times PWM period divided by 100, and if you take that, and the PWM period is 3000. Now the time, notice we're supposed to sleep. I don't think it mentions it in this week's assignment, but oh yes, 1 second. We're supposed to sleep for 1 second. So I believe this is in microseconds. And so the time is 1 second. The period is 3000 microseconds. So this is how I set up the different duty cycles. And so down here, and I've just commented out the old code. You may want to just remove it. As long as you've got a backup copy of the original code, that's fine. So we could do that. Just get rid of that. So we're entering the while loop. Now also keep in mind there are some questions in your assignment instructions for this week, and one of the 3 deliverables. Now let's talk about deliverables. You've got you're going to need to zip up your code and submit that. That's one deliverable, the zip file with your code. Then a little video of, just hold up your board in front of the camera, make a little movie of that, and submit that with showing your lights blinking at those intervals. And finally, a document, I guess a Word document containing the answers to these questions. Now these questions they're in item 16 of your instructions for this week. What does PWM LED 2 set the PWM period to? And by the way, PWM is probably stands for something like pulse with modulation. I'm not sure, but so the PWM period. You can answer that by just looking here at the PWM period value, and that's 3,000 microseconds. So that's one question. And then which PWM underscore XXX function sets the PWM period? Well, you can trace that down here. So we got PWM period here, and then that gets loaded into a period value in the params. And then the params are passed in ultimately to the PWM open. So the answer, I believe, would be PWM open finally sets the PWM period from the params you pass in. And then which PWM XXX function sets the PWM duty cycle? Okay, the duty cycle, we're setting that down here in PWM set duty. That's the one we're constantly changing. And these the PWM 1 and 2, those correspond to the 2 LEDs that we want to make blink at different intervals. So then finally, what is the purpose of the while loop in PWM LED 2? Well, the while loop, of course, is just so that it will constantly, it will just keep changing these. It will continue to iterate through these different instructions. It will repeat these instructions over and over again as long as the while condition is true. So this is while 1. So this is just a continuous loop. Now, what is the purpose of the uSleep in the while loop? Well, the uSleep is just that allows us to control how fast we process through this loop. So if you didn't have those uSleeps, these intervals would change so quickly you wouldn't be able to distinguish by looking at the board exactly which one was active. So that's just a way to control the timer, the timing of the loop. So those are the questions. This is the code. Now let me plug in my device. And of course, I already have this loaded. I guess you can see those blinking. It's a little hard to see the green light. Yes, you can see it. So when you see the yellow light on, then the yellow light, that's, let's scroll on down here. Okay, so when you see the yellow light, we're in this section here where the yellow light is PWM1, that's set to 90%, and then the green light is at that point set to 10%. And now when you don't see the yellow light but you see the green light clearly, then we're in the second section here, where PWM1 is equal to 0, so the yellow light is off, and then the green light is at 90%, PWM2. So that's the assignment, that's the goal. And then of course you should be familiar with when you've got your code written and you want to test it, then you go here to Project Build All and build your code. And then when you're ready to load it, go to Run, Load, and then pick, I've got the CC3220S, not the SF, so I'm going to pick the S, and I'm going to load it. And then you might want to go ahead and, if you check this one, build project before load, then you could just skip the initial build step and go right here and load it. So then it would build and then load. Now if you run into any problems with connectivity when you try to load it, that says it can't connect to your device, simply unplug your device. It'll tell you to power cycle it, and of course the way to power cycle it is to unplug it from your USB port, and that removes the source of its power. Wait a few seconds, plug it back in, and give it another try. I had that issue this morning, and that worked for me. So that's it. This should be pretty clear. If not, just get in touch with me. Let me know if you have any problems, and have a good week. I'll see you next week.